In this video, I'm going to teach you how to do a forgetfulness spell. Whether you've done something that you want someone to forget, or you're trying to forget something because it's just too painful, or you want to mess with someone and just get them to forget something just for a bit of a laugh, this video is for you. So click that like button right now, subscribe and ding that bell because it's all coming up right after this.
Say goodbye to your memories.
Okay, so let's be real for a second. We're never just going to be able to wave a magic wand and poof. Weird. But you can certainly use magic to change how people experience the world, and if you have an understanding of the world around you, and particularly psychology, these tools will help. Let's face it, even Harry Potter went to school to learn how to become a fully functioning wizard. So, how can you make people forget things? Haven't I just told you that? So I'll teach you 5 ways in which you can make yourself or other people forget. Number 1. Okay, so the easiest way to get someone to forget something is through mental overload, throwing so much stimulus at them that their brain kind of crashes. Now, I'm not suggesting for a second that their mind is just going to crumple like some used toilet tissue and they become a quivering blob.
Hello. Who are you?
I'm merely suggesting that most people can only hold about 6, maybe plus or minus a couple, things in their mind at any one time, sometimes less. So, if you try to concentrate on the feeling of being sat down or standing up or whatever you're doing, and the colours of this video, and the sound of my voice, and the speech of my words, and the speed of my words, and this bubbling cauldron behind me, and what other colour clothes I'm wearing, and the third word in the following list, chicken, 17. Cloud, turquoise, independent, and the time it's taken to watch this video so far, and what was the second thing I was just mentioning? You're probably not going to be able to remember. You might want to rewind this video just so that you can remember, by the way. Overloading the mind is a great way to make people forget. You simply load up the brain with so much stuff that the other stuff just gets pushed out. This is why people get engaged after a particularly horrible romantic fight. You'd think that they'd want nothing to do with the other person, but the new emotion pushes the old one away because there's so much possibility with a new emotion. It literally makes the fight kind of vanish or be forgotten because there's just too much to hold on to, and people want to hold on to the positive emotion more than the negative memory. Number 2, compartmentalization. Yeesh, long word alert. Yeah, I know. No, stay with me here. It may be a long word, but basically compartmentalization is simply putting things into boxes or compartments. Imagine a mental box that contains certain thoughts. When you move out of that box, the thoughts that you had in that box are no longer with you. They're no longer there. With compartmentalization, or boxing if you prefer, we can recognize certain ways of making people forget things. We take them out of a certain situation. If you've ever had the experience of walking into a room and immediately forgetting what you went in there for, you'll have become a victim of compartmentalization. Your thought of, I want my car keys, belongs in your living room. So when you go to the kitchen to get those keys, you pass the threshold of the door and you need to switch compartments. Often you'll be thinking of something else while you cross that boundary, and so you forget why you came into the kitchen in the first place. So here's a little tip if that happens to you. Go back to the first room and you'll remember why you went into the kitchen. If you want to remember as you go into the kitchen, your mind needs to use a holding box or a compartment, one that allows you to move into the kitchen and keep the thought with you. So you sort of create this, I want my keys and they're in the kitchen, and when I get to the kitchen I'm going to have those keys sort of box. So it often involves repetition and repeating that thought over and over as you cross the threshold, even if all you do is to do that silently in your head. Number 4, disruption. Disruption can also be called distraction. So, for example, there is no number 3. Did you forget? Probably. The human brain takes approximately 7 seconds for a neuron signal to cross from one side of the brain to the other. This means that you need to recreate that signal in order to keep experiencing it or remembering it. If a child is crying, for example, you can distract that child with something else, like their favourite toy or sweeties. Or if that doesn't work, you can even use a cool little technique that I discovered about 15 years ago. Before I get onto that, let's tap into number 5. Number 5, psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is the science of understanding the psychological language that people use to talk to themselves. I don't have time in this video to explain in detail psycholinguistics in great depth, but it's basically that little voice inside your head. To get people to forget, you can use a myriad of techniques to use all elements that I've mentioned before and entirely new ones. Remember that child crying that I mentioned in point number 4? Well, you can get them to forget pain or whatever they're crying about simply by clicking your fingers above their eye line, about here. They'll look up and immediately stop crying, and that's because their brain is accessing the visual part of their consciousness and it's physically unable to associate to the pain. You'll see Rodin's famous statue, the thinker, looking like this. That thinker isn't looking up, he's hunched over looking down, or more specifically looking inward. By encouraging people to look up, you're encouraging the infinite possibilities that come with searching for new things, visualizing a better future and improving stuff. You can't think negatively when you're stuck in that kind of visualization mindset, and so you end up forgetting the pain. It even works consciously if you remember to do it. But remembering to forget can be difficult when you're stuck in the middle of it, especially if it's emotional. So there you have it, 5 techniques to make people forget. Or was that 4 techniques? I forget. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It tells YouTube's algorithms that it was a good video and more people should see it. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and ding that bell to make sure that you don't miss out on a single magic minute. A massive shout out to these amazing people. They're my patrons and members from YouTube and Patreon, and they help me out every single month. They are the best people alive, and you can become one of them simply by following the links just down in the description. I'll be back next time with some more magical awesomeness, but until next time, as always,
Stay magical.